Hey friends, I'm RSKT, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I went about making this design in Affinity Designer on the iPad Pro. This design came about when I was stuck in a pretty boring Zoom meeting. I was being fed some pretty useless information, and so naturally I just started drawing. Eventually I took this drawing and turned it into the piece of art that you're going to be watching me make today, and I sell this on t-shirts in my Etsy store. Alright, so let's get started. Even though I have that original sketch sitting underneath, I'm just drawing over it with a new sketch. This way I can just throw in a little bit more detail and make some changes to certain elements that I didn't like when I was just doodling. I usually do this with a red pen so that when I'm coming in with the fine line later, it's just a little bit easier for me to see what's going on. The brush I'm using isn't anything special either. It's pretty much just a standard brush that comes with Affinity Designer, and I try to keep it at the same size throughout the whole process. Cool, so now I'm coming in with a vector brush and I'm just starting to draw in that fine line. I've said it in previous videos before, but I'll say it again. Not many people really understand why I like to use vector brushes, even though I'm going to be coloring with pixel brushes later on. It's just something I like to do. It gives me a little bit more control. I find the brushes a little smoother to use, and it allows me to come back in later on and fix up anything I didn't like, because they're all just curves and they can be edited after the fact. Not only that, but eventually I would like to take all of these designs and put them into like a coloring book or something and sell it on my Etsy store or something like that. And if I'm doing that, the fact that they're all vectors, they're going to be nice clean lines, and I can just blow them up to any scale and color them in differently if I ever wanted to. So now's also probably a good time to mention that this is probably going to be the last little Affinity Designer tutorial that's going to be up my channel for a short time. I know that I've gotten a lot of subscribers over the past 4 weeks that are really into Affinity Designer, and that's probably why they subscribed to this channel in the first place. But focusing on that application has never really been the true intent of this channel. The intent of this channel is to provide everybody with a lot of art tutorials across a variety of different applications, from video editing, graphic design, visual effects, a little bit of 3D stuff, and of course drawing and painting. All of these illustrations are actually old illustrations that I completed over the last 2 years, and I'm just slowly filtering them out so that I've got a little bit more time to launch my cartoon drawing course, which will be out soon, hopefully. I'm still in the process of making it. It's going to be huge, but I'm hoping if I can at least make the first 6 videos, then I'm a little bit ahead of the game for when I start uploading them. So even if you did subscribe to this channel because you have an interest in Affinity Designer, don't be put off by the next couple of videos. They are going to be using things like Adobe Illustrator and Procreate. I'm hoping to garner a little bit more of an audience through those as well, and then eventually launch this drawing course. The whole course is probably going to be able to be completed with a pen and paper. However, towards the end of the course, I'm going to be discussing how to transition from traditional media to digital media. When I first started drawing, I actually found that transition quite difficult. I'd drawn my whole life and then I was thrown into a world of computers, and I didn't really understand how things like Photoshop or Illustrator worked, and I would try and learn them but never really be able to produce the art that I wanted to make. Affinity Designer was actually a really big catalyst in making that happen. My art improved tenfold as soon as I started using this, even though I'd used Illustrator for a long time and Photoshop. But I want this course to make that transition easy for people. So towards the end of it, there is going to be a large section that focuses on Affinity Designer, how to get started with it, and how I do my coloring process in it, as well as different ways of illustrating in Affinity Designer that I know how to do, but I don't commonly use in my own art. And I'll probably also show some people how to do that in Procreate, Photoshop, and Illustrator as well. These apps are all pretty much the same. They all just have sort of unique features that make them stand out from the rest. So by the end of this course that I'm going to be making, you should be able to draw any cartoon or any design that you have in your head. Later on, I do plan on making a whole course on realistic drawing, gesture drawing, figure drawing, portraiture, and then, transition into video editing and stuff like that. But for now, I think drawing cartoons is a really good first step. Some people don't know where to begin, and I'm going to make that a lot easier for you. Being able to draw things from your head, or just being able to let your pen flow freely on the paper and draw out something that you don't have in your head, but you're just seeing come to life in front of your eyes. It's like one of the most rewarding art experiences I've ever had, and I really want to be able to share it with people. Cool, so now I'm just coming into the coloring phase. I'm mainly just drawing in large shapes with the pencil tool, and then I'm using the Pathfinder to make all of these tiny shapes into one big shape. I do this in all of my drawings. They're going to act as clipping masks later on, so that way when I come in later and start coloring in with pixel brushes, nothing's going to escape those bounds. For my use of color in this one, I didn't really have anything set in mind. I definitely wanted some sort of complementing colors, but I wasn't really sure what color I wanted everything to be. So I was just honestly just playing around with them a whole bunch. This is like another reason why I like using vectors when I'm doing my artwork. If I just came in and started slapping down different brushes in different areas, these shoes are yellow right now, if I just painted those in with a pixel brush and I didn't like them, I'd have to go through a lot more steps to change that color, rather than just pressing a button like I would with vector brushes or vector shapes. Now I'm just coming in and doing hard shadows and hard highlights. So even though I'm going to be doing some more complex shading over the top of this, I always like these hard shadows and highlights. They make objects sort of pop a lot more. I use them in everything. I try to use really dark purple for my line work. Nothing's really ever true black. And for my shadows, I sort of use the same dark purple. For my highlights, I use an off-white or a pretty vivid yellow. I think in the future, I'm just gonna have to make a new layer that sits on top of everything else so that when I stop, I activate it and it says, remember to record. The amount of times I walk away from my iPad, something distracts me and it locks, and then I forget to hit record again as soon as it opens up. It's really frustrating and I'm sorry. Either way, basically what I've done here is I've used an asset pack from FRANKENTOON. He's a really cool artist. You should totally Google him to check him out. I'll try and remember to actually link the asset pack in the description below. Basically, they're just a bunch of half-tone textures. You throw them in on your clipping masks and then you skew and scale them to what you want their dimensions to be, and then you can recolor them so that it suits whatever your artwork is going to be. And now I'm just coming in and playing around with a ton of different adjustment layers. I actually usually throw a yellow lens filter on all of my illustrations just to help tie the colors together a little bit more, and then I'll start playing around with adjustment layer adjustments on top of it. So yeah, and this is the final result. This is what we wound up with, and yeah. So as I said earlier, this is going to be the last Affinity Designer tutorial for a short time. The next one will probably be using Adobe Illustrator, and then we're going to switch to Procreate for a few more videos. By then, hopefully I'll have the first leg of this cartoon drawing course ready, and then eventually, as we work through that, we will be switching back to Affinity Designer and a few other applications along the way. If you came to this channel hoping it to all be about Affinity Designer, I wouldn't stress too much. It's not good to just know how to do everything in one program. It's good to know the strengths and weaknesses of several different programs. It helps develop your skill further, it can help you get a job a lot easier, and it can also really help you financially, knowing which application is going to be right for you. So definitely stick around. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't, tell me why, and please subscribe so that you can be up to date when this drawing course finally gets released. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.